What is up, everyone? In this video we're going to be finding out what the Nike Zoom Alphafly is like as a daily trainer. Hey, what is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. How are we all doing? Now, 40 runs, we get a lot of emails in, and this one was a particular one I took notice of because it's from a Mr. E. Kipchoge. Now, he wrote in and said, "Fordy, I love your YouTube channel. I think it's one of the best out there, so thank you very much." He said, "I've got a bit of a problem. I keep training in the Nike Vaporflies. They're my daily trainer. I use them mostly. I do use the Pegasus and the Vomero, but I spend a lot of my time in the Vaporfly. What do you think the Alphafly would be like as a daily trainer?" Well, you know us here on 40 Runs, we take consumer advice very, very seriously. So this week, I've been running only in the Alphafly. I've done all my runs this week in the Alphafly to find out if it is any good as a daily trainer. So we're back at HQ, and like I said at the start, we are discussing whether the Alphafly is a good daily trainer. Now, I was mucking about the email from Kipchoge, but I saw a sort of live stream thingy on Believe in the Run YouTube channel, check it out, with Kipchoge on it, and he was talking about various things. One of the things he did say was the fact that he trains in the Vaporfly, and he has 2 pairs of Alphafly that he uses mainly on the track. And it got me thinking about the Alphafly, whether it'd be any good as a daily trainer. Now, I'm very lucky to have 2 pairs of these. I've got a pair there which are ready for marathon day in April, and I've got these which has already done a marathon and a few other runs in them as well, where I've done training runs and stuff like that. But so I thought, you know what, we'll grab these and we'll actually put them through a week's rotation of my running. Now, I run, 40 miles on average a week. I'm not a big mileage person, but at the same time, you know, I'm probably about average. And I run 6 times a week, sometimes 7, but mainly 6 because I try and get that rest day in. And my runs are strategic in terms of what I'm doing. I tend to do a recovery run, a couple of goal pace runs, a couple of speed sessions, whether that be, you know, a set of intervals or like a fartlek, or actually like a progressive run, or I don't know, or like a tempo run, something like that. And then mixed up again with some sort of zone training as well along the lines. Oh, plus a long run. So I wanted to put the shoe through that sort of weekly cycle to see what it would be like actually living with an Alphafly. So I'll tell you what, let's do some quick stats on the shoe because it's pretty an epic shoe. So you've got, that's bad English by the way, you've got in the Alphafly, if you don't know what it is, you've got the Atom Knit upper, you've got this big slab of Zoom X, which is Nike's most responsive midsole compound. Through that you've got this carbon plate running through it. You've then got these AirPods here. The shoe's got this massive stack height, which I think tops out at about 40 millimeters. I may be wrong, depending on the size, but there's a huge borderline illegal amount of foam in it. If it's true to size, sorry, I'm just thinking about what else we need to tell you. You've got a little bit of foam in there, and it's basically built for marathons. The shoe feels like you are doing this, but instead of like a Vaporfly where you're literally just like that, this feels more like a sort of, not a kind of trampoline onto that front section here, which is harder than the plate kicks you through. But this reminds me of a big, powerful SUV. If you look at a Bentley, I think they're called a Bentley Bentayga, think about that versus like a Ferrari. See, so this is more of a big tourer, powerful tourer that can just eat miles. Yeah, Porsche Cayenne Turbo. yeah, Ferrari. See where I'm going? And it just eats marathons, this thing. This is what Kipchoge wore for the sub 2 marathon, as an example. So that's a little bit about the shoe. Oh, it's a little bit heavier than the Vaporfly. I don't know the exact weights. Mrs. Fordy's scales have been stolen. And I think we need to do a little bit of an inquest into that, because they were in here, now they've gone. But I know that it is heavier than that. I can't remember the exact weight. I should have found out before we got into this video, but anyway, worry about that later. I'll probably put it up on the screen somewhere. But yeah, so what has this shoe been like as a daily trainer? Okay, so easy pace runs, recovery runs, actually was quite nice. The Zoom X, it's not, I mean, there's the, where are they? They're down there. The Invincible with its loader Zoom X is more suited for those easy day runs. But it was comfortable, it was competent, it did what I needed to do. It made a hell of a noise when I was going slow in it. That is one thing I did notice. It made a hell of a racket when I was going along. I think that's got to do with that there. Can you hear that? Well, that on the road is quite loud. But actually on those easy pace runs, it was okay. I was worried about the stability in it, and it seemed to do okay. And my legs actually felt all right after it. Didn't feel like I'd done any sort of running or anything like that. It was a real noticeable, yeah, sort of, I hadn't even been out feeling, which was quite strange. When I switched to the shoe into my sort of goal pace runs, so they're usually between 7 and 10K for me in the week, the shoe started to come alive a little bit. I did start to feel slightly unstable. Where I live, there's a lot of roads, so there's a lot of cameras and stuff like that. So I did feel like I was kind of a bit like this in some places. Because like on a marathon day, right, you'd probably be running on flat roads, right? So that sort of stuff, it wasn't ideal, especially when I was going a little bit quicker at that goal pace. So goal pace for me at the moment is around 5:30 per kilometre. I'll put that up somewhere on the screen in terms of miles and what that is. That's my marathon goal pace, by the way, what I'm training for at the moment, just to be clear, so you don't think that 10K, I'm doing that, but no. My marathon goal pace at the moment is 5:30-ish per kilometre. But yeah, I just felt those sort of negative cameras. I felt that's where I was feeling the shoe being unstable. So it wasn't practical in that term. So it was all right on those easy days because you can kind of sort of bounce around them. But when you start to pick up the pace, it was noticeable. In those speed sessions, it definitely came alive with the Zoom X. It was not as fast as that, but it definitely felt quick. It definitely felt easy to do those speed work. In terms of the stability, it wasn't so much of an issue because I was really, really going for it, and I was much more on my toes, going through the shoe, getting that sort of kick from the plate, and it felt great. Yeah, it really did feel good. It doesn't feel as fast, as I say, as the Vaporfly, but it did feel quick, it did feel competent, and it was an enjoyable ride again. And I didn't feel like I'd done a huge effort in it. Don't get me wrong, I was still blowing, but it definitely felt easier in this than, say, if I'd done that session in my Asics Gel Nimbus Light 2, or which is probably a bad example, but let's say I'd done them in the Razor Elite, which is a super light shoe. It felt easy with the Zoom X, 100% felt easy. Super breathable as well. Gotta keep mentioning the breathability of the shoe because it is incredible. One thing I did notice this week, interesting, slight wear on the back of my heel, which was interesting because, as I said, this shoe's done a marathon and more runs than that, and I did feel some slight irritation on the back of my heel in terms of rubbing, which was really interesting, I thought. And I ran these in the virtual marathon. It was chucking it down, so you would have thought that during that, when it was, my feet were absolutely soaked, that I would have got the irritation in the back, but I've not. I got it this week, maybe because I've been wearing them a lot. Interesting. Had no problems with the inside of the arch, by the way, which I've had in some recent Nikes. Yeah, so that kind of caught me off guard. Something to be aware of. But yeah, so I've totally lost track of where I was. But the weekly miles have definitely felt easier in this. Now, I'm not recommending you go and spend £267 on a pair of Alphaflys to do all your training, because that's the worst bit of advice I could give you. But as a scientific experiment this week, it has been really interesting to see why the sort of, and I'm not classing myself anywhere near the same, but why the elites sort of train in these shoes is quite interesting. I think there's benefits of using them and there's benefits of not using them. Watch the video that's coming out on Sunday on how I got on with it in a 20-mile training video. I've not mentioned the long run in it yet deliberately because I want you to watch the vlog this weekend on Sunday about how the shoe performed over 20 miles in a training run, and that run it is easy to goal pace over the 20 miles. So check that video out and I'll go into detail how it performed in that. But I say, yeah, it's been an interesting week running this all week. Let me know in the comments, people, what do you think about using shoes like this as your daily trainers? I'd be very interested to know in your opinion. Or do you actually use the Alphafly as a daily trainer? Let me know in the comments. Now, let's say this shoe is a lot of money. It is an engineering masterpiece what Nike have created, and I can't see what they bring out next for the Alphafly. But yeah, it's kind of, I was thinking I was going to hate it and I was going to go, oh, this is useless, but actually, yeah, it's got me thinking for maybe next marathon training block, towards those, you know, weeks where I'm really putting in more miles, more higher pace runs, you know, all that sort of stuff towards the end of the marathon training block. That's sort of phase 3 for me before the taper. Maybe I should spend more time in these.